The Galactic Council chambers, a colossal structure of sleek metal and shimmering light, housed representatives from over 1,000 star systems. Here, decisions affecting billions were made. But today's agenda held a matter far more mundane, or so it seemed, to address an unauthorized species brought into council space by a relatively primitive member. Earth. Ambassador Jenkins stood before the assembly, his expression stoic despite the turmoil brewing within. Flanking him were holographic displays of Earth and its diverse ecosystems, yet the focus was on a seemingly innocuous creature, a dog named Max. "Esteemed Council," Jenkins began, his voice echoing across the vast chamber. "The creature beside me, a dog, is not merely a pet, but a cherished part of our human family. Max's presence here violated no laws when we considered the ambiguous wording regarding non-sentient companions." Across the room, eyes narrowed and whispers filled the air. Vorasi, the lead representative of the Rhinar Collective, a species known for their strict adherence to protocol and their avian-like features, replied sharply, "Ambassador, your ignorance of council laws does not exempt you from them. The creature was brought into a secured conference, a clear breach." The debate raged, arguments flaring like solar flares. Earth's position in the council was tenuous, its entry fresh and filled with controversy, mostly due to its rapid technological advancement and unpredictable nature. Suddenly, a high-pitched alarm rang out, and the chamber's doors sealed with a hiss. Panic briefly ensued until the head of council security appeared on the main screen. "There has been an incident. The human's creature. It's dead." Silence fell like a shroud. Jenkins felt his heart stop. "How?" His voice was a whisper, lost in the vastness of the chamber. "Terminated for potential contamination. A routine procedure," the security chief stated, his voice devoid of emotion. The news struck Jenkins like a physical blow. Grief mingled with a rising fury. Max had been more than a pet. He was a symbol of Earth's love for all life, a part of their delegation to show unity and compassion. The chamber buzzed with reactions, many indifferent, some even supportive of the action. Earth was still viewed with suspicion, its emotional attachments to creatures considered irrational by many advanced species. Jenkins's grief quickly solidified into resolve. "This was not just a breach of protocol. It was murder," he declared, his voice resonating with a newfound steel. "And there will be consequences." The threat hung in the air, palpable and heavy. The assembly watched, some with disdain, others with a dawning realization of the seriousness of the Earth's representative. Hours later, Earth's response was not through diplomatic channels, but through a display of force that shocked the Council. The human secret fleet, undetected by the advanced surveillance systems of the Council, emerged from the void of space. Sleek, dark ships, unlike any in the Council's vast armadas, took positions around key Council planets. The message from Earth was clear. Such transgressions would not be tolerated. Not now. Not ever. As the Galactic Council scrambled to respond, Earth prepared its next move. Jenkins, once a mere ambassador, now stood as the representative of Earth's resolve. The game had changed, and the stakes were life itself. The death of one dog had ignited a conflict that could envelop the galaxy, a testament to the unpredictable and fiercely protective nature of humanity. Earth might have been the Council's newest member, but it was rapidly becoming its most formidable. The Galactic Council convened in an emergency session, the gravity of Earth's sudden military display pressing upon every representative. The chamber, usually a beacon of multi-species cooperation, now pulsed with a tense energy. The Council had underestimated Earth, and now the entire galaxy watched, holding its breath. Vorasi of the Rhinar Collective rose to speak, feathers bristling in agitation. "This aggression is unprecedented," he declared, his voice cutting through the murmurs. "We must understand. This is not just about a non-sentient creature. This is a demonstration of Earth's capabilities and their willingness to use them." Around him, nods and mutters of agreement rippled through the assembly. The holographic displays flickered with images of the human fleet, analysis running in real time, attempting to discern the technology behind the silent and dark vessels now in orbit around several strategic planets. From the shadowed back rows, Ambassador Jenkins watched, his features schooled into neutrality. He had anticipated this reaction, the fear, the awe, and the outrage. Earth had played its card not out of spite, but necessity. The Council needed to see them as equals, and nothing spoke more clearly than a show of force. Meanwhile, in the hidden command center of Earth's fleet, Admiral Kyra Stone faced her own battle. The fleet was her domain, each ship a part of her extended consciousness through the network of AI-assisted controls. Her crew, drawn from the best Earth had to offer, stood ready, their loyalty to their home planet unshakable. "Admiral, all ships report ready status. We await your commands," Lieutenant Graham reported, his voice steady despite the underlying tension. Kira nodded, her gaze fixed on the tactical display. "Maintain positions, keep communications open with the Council. We're not here to start a war, but to end a miscarriage of justice." Back on the Council station, negotiations dragged on. Each species brought its perspective, its fears, and its advice. The consensus was shaky at best. Some called for immediate military action, believing it the only language Earth understood. Others, remembering Earth's rapid ascension and unpredictable behavior, suggested a more diplomatic approach. Through it all, Jenkins remained a pillar of calm. When he finally stood to address the assembly again, his voice was neither confrontational nor submissive. "Earth seeks not war but respect. The life taken from us was cherished, and while you may dismiss this as sentimentality, it is the core of our values. We protect our own." He paused, letting his words sink in. "We are willing to withdraw our fleet, under the condition that the Council formally recognizes Earth's sovereignty over its chosen companions and assures no further harm will come to our people or their families, no matter their species." The proposal hung in the air, heavy with implications. Accepting Earth's terms would mean a restructuring of several Council policies, a concession many were loath to make. But rejecting them could lead to a conflict that might spread across systems, consuming resources and lives. The debate continued, each species weighing the cost of peace against the cost of pride. In the command center, Admiral Stone kept her eyes on the stars, a silent sentinel waiting for the word that would either pull her fleet back or push them forward into the annals of interstellar conflict. The decision would shape the future of the Council and Earth, intertwining their fates in ways none could fully predict. And behind it all, the memory of a simple Earth dog named Max lingered, a reminder that even the smallest of sparks could ignite the vastness of space. In the sterile environment of the Galactic Council's main chamber, the hours stretched into a marathon of political maneuvering. The stakes were high, and every decision now seemed to hinge on how to reconcile with Earth without compromising the long-held principles and pride of the more established species. The balance of power teetered, as Council members argued whether to embrace Earth's audacious spirit or to clamp down on its unpredictable actions. Ambassador Jenkins sat silently, his mind tracing the potential outcomes of the session. His composure was an armor, masking the turmoil of diplomatic calculations. Each argument from the Council members was a probe, a test of Earth's resolve and his own. He knew the psychological game was as critical as the military standoff orbiting above them. On the screen, the serene blue and green image of Earth contrasted starkly with the dark vessels of its fleet. The visual served as a constant reminder to the Council of the choice facing them: accept a new player on their terms, or risk an all-out confrontation that could shatter the fragile unity of the galaxy. Vorasi finally called for a recess, a strategic pause to allow tempers to cool and for side discussions to shape the next phase of the debate. The corridors of the Council station filled with hushed conversations and hurried consultations. Delegates from older civilizations viewed Earth's boldness as a threat to the established order, while younger or more marginalized systems saw in Earth a potential ally against the dominance of the dominant species. Meanwhile, in the shadow of the moon orbiting Thessia Prime, Admiral Kira Stone surveyed the holographic map, detailing the positions of her fleet. The ships, engineered with stealth technology and advanced weaponry, were her silent argument in the negotiation, visible enough to worry the Council but restrained enough to keep the door open for diplomacy. "Admiral, we have a communiqué from Ambassador Jenkins," her communications officer announced, handing her a datapad. Reading the message, Kira's lips tightened. Jenkins urged patience, reinforcing the strategy of holding their current stance. He believed there was still a chance for a peaceful resolution, despite the increasing pressure from military advisors back on Earth pushing for a more definitive show of strength. Back in the council chamber, as the recess concluded, Jenkins took the floor again. This time, his approach shifted slightly, aiming to sway the undecided members of the council. "Consider the precedent we set today," he implored. "Today it is an Earth dog, but tomorrow, what prevents a similar fate for any of us under outdated regulations? We must evolve as a galaxy, not just technologically but morally." The argument struck a chord with several of the newer or more progressive members. Discussions began to orbit around the concept of updating the Council's laws to better reflect the diversity and complexity of its members. The idea of evolution, of change, was daunting but no longer dismissible. As the debates wore on, a coalition began to form, an unexpected alliance of systems sympathetic to Earth's plight or interested in the broader implications of the conflict. This shift was subtle but significant, a movement away from immediate censure toward a more inclusive and comprehensive understanding. In the tactical silence of space, Admiral Stone continued her vigil. The fleet remained still, a lurking dragon, its scales glinting in the starlight, each vessel ready at a moment's notice to either retract its claws or extend them, depending on the word from below. The tension was a palpable force, binding the fate of Earth to the will of the galaxy, each waiting for the other to blink in this cosmic standoff. As the negotiations drew out, the once stark lines between diplomacy and confrontation began to blur. The Galactic Council's chamber was a crucible in which the future of interspecies relations was being forged under intense pressure. Ambassador Jenkins, leveraging the shifting sentiments, navigated the treacherous waters of galactic politics with an adeptness that belied Earth's novice status in the Council. The growing coalition of supportive systems proposed a new framework for dealing with non-sentient beings brought into Council space, arguing that a distinction should be made between truly dangerous entities and those like Max, whose presence posed no real threat. This proposal sparked intense debate, but also opened the door to compromise, offering a way for both sides to step back from the brink without losing face. Vorasi, seeing the tide turning, sought to maintain the Rhinar Collective's influence by subtly shifting his stance. "While we must uphold the security of Council space," he conceded, "it is equally important to adapt our laws to the realities of our diverse membership. Perhaps it is time to consider a more flexible approach." This olive branch, though grudgingly offered, was a testament to the shifting dynamics within the Council. The realization that Earth's fleet could indeed enforce a new status quo had recalibrated the political calculus for many. Meanwhile, deep within the bowels of the lead ship of Earth's fleet, Admiral Stone kept her focus on the long game. Her command center was alive with activity, each officer and technician playing their part in a ballet of military precision. They monitored communications and ship readiness, all while maintaining an uneasy watchfulness. "Admiral, Council negotiations appear to be moving toward a compromise. Should we stand down from alert status?" her second-in-command inquired, his voice a mix of hope and caution. "Not yet," Stone replied. "Keep the fleet at ready until we have a formal resolution. It's not over until it's over." Back on the Council station, Jenkins used the recesses to build rapport and consensus among the delegates. His approach was both personal and political, emphasizing Earth's commitment to peace and its readiness to defend its principles. He met with delegates individually, listening to their concerns and addressing them with a diplomat's grace. As the final session commenced, a new resolution was placed on the floor. It proposed the establishment of a new committee to re-evaluate the classification of non-sentient beings, with Earth given a seat at the table. This move would not only resolve the immediate crisis, but also strengthen Earth's position within the Council. The vote was tense, each delegate casting their ballot under the weight of the moment. When the results were displayed, a collective breath was released throughout the chamber. The resolution passed, not unanimously, but with enough support to move forward. Jenkins allowed himself a small smile, not of triumph, but of relief. Thank you, he addressed the assembly. This resolution is a step toward a more inclusive council. Earth appreciates the trust you've placed in us today. In space, the word of the resolution's passage moved quickly through the ranks of the fleet. Admiral Stone received the news with a sober nod, immediately issuing orders to stand down. The fleet, however, would not withdraw until the resolution was formally enacted, a silent guardian ensuring the Council upheld its new commitment. The decision marked a new era in Council history, one where Earth was no longer an outsider, but a recognized player in the cosmic arena. The fleet's engines cooled, the ship's silhouettes against the backdrop of stars a reminder of the delicate balance between peace and power in the galaxy. The halls of the Galactic Council were quieter now, the frenetic energy of the previous sessions giving way to a more measured pace. The resolution had been a victory, albeit a precarious one, and the ramifications were now the subject of careful strategic planning. Ambassador Jenkins, ever vigilant, attended these sessions, ensuring Earth's interests were not just considered, but integral to the new framework being constructed. The newly established committee was a mosaic of the galaxy's diversity, with representatives from various species, each bringing their own perspectives and prejudices to the table. Jenkins found himself at the center of these discussions, advocating not only for Earth's positions, but also for a broader principle of respect and protection for all forms of life, sentient or not. On Earth and across human colonies, news of the Council's decision had sparked celebrations as well as debates. Humanity's place in the cosmos was evolving, and with it, the sense of responsibility toward their interstellar neighbors. Educational programs and public forums sprang up, discussing the implications of the new laws and Earth's role in shaping them. Meanwhile, Admiral Stone continued her command of the fleet, now in a defensive posture around Earth and key human colonies. The threat of conflict had receded but not disappeared. Her ships were a deterrent, a reminder to the galaxy that Earth was both a beacon of diplomacy and a fortress of military strength. In the Council's chambers, discussions about the new legal framework unfolded. Jenkins pushed for clear definitions and strong enforcement mechanisms, aware that vague laws could lead to future conflicts. He worked closely with legal experts from various worlds, blending Earth's legal traditions with alien concepts to form a robust, inclusive set of guidelines. The Rhinar Collective, having adjusted to the new political landscape, became an unlikely ally in some of these discussions. Vorasi, recognizing the potential benefits of a strong partnership with Earth, sought to bridge gaps between the old guard and the new members. His change of heart was pragmatic, driven by the shifting tides of power and the potential advantages of being on good terms with humanity. Back on Earth, public interest in galactic affairs reached new heights. Universities expanded their xenology departments, and former diplomats and military leaders frequently appeared in media to explain the ongoing changes and what they meant for everyday humans. The public's fascination with alien cultures grew, fueled by a mixture of curiosity and a desire to understand their new neighbors. In one of the high-stakes committee meetings, a breakthrough occurred. A comprehensive set of protections for non-sentient beings was drafted, offering not just rights, but also procedures for their introduction to Council spaces. This document, while primarily legal in nature, was a cultural signal too, reflecting a shift toward a more empathetic and united galactic community. As these developments unfolded, the galaxy watched. Other civilizations, previously indifferent to Earth, now viewed it with new interest and sometimes caution. The balance of power was subtly but unmistakably changing. Admiral Stone, from her command ship, observed the slow but steady progress of integration and cooperation. Her fleet remained vigilant, a guardian of not just Earth's sovereignty but its ethos. The dark ships, once a symbol of Earth's readiness to battle, gradually became a sign of its commitment to peace underpinned by strength. This delicate dance of power, diplomacy, and emerging interstellar law continued, each step forward carefully watched by billions across the galaxy. The stakes remained high, but the path forward was clearer, lit by the combined light of many worlds working together. As the new legal frameworks took shape, the Galactic Council experienced a renaissance of cooperation and unity. The corridors and meeting rooms, once battlegrounds of rhetoric and political maneuvering, transformed into hubs of collaborative effort. Ambassador Jenkins found himself at the heart of this transformation, recognized not just as a diplomat from Earth, but as a visionary leader who had steered the Council through one of its most turbulent times. The committee's final session was marked by a ceremonious air as they prepared to ratify the new regulations. The document, crafted from countless hours of debate and compromise, was more than just legislation. It was a testament to the power of diverse species working together for a common cause. Jenkins, standing at the podium, delivered a speech that resonated across the chamber, broadcasted live to countless worlds. Today we affirm our commitment to not just coexist, but to respect and protect all forms of life within our galaxy. This document is not merely about the law. It is about our moral progress as a united entity. Let us move forward, not as separate species, but as a united assembly dedicated to the preservation and flourishing of all life. The vote was unanimous, a rare occurrence in the history of the Council. As the final seal was placed on the document, applause erupted, echoing through the chamber and across space via the interstellar networks. Meanwhile, Admiral Stone, aboard her flagship, watched the proceedings through a live feed. The successful ratification meant that her fleet could finally stand down, transitioning from a wartime readiness to a peacekeeping force. She issued the orders, and across the fleet, the atmosphere shifted from tense readiness to cautious relief. Her crews began the process of returning to their bases, their mission complete, but always ready to defend Earth's values if the need arose again. Back on Earth and its colonies, celebrations broke out. Humanity had not only secured its place in the Council, but had led a movement that changed the galactic landscape. Schools taught the story. The galaxy watched and learned from this episode. Other species began to reconsider their own policies and attitudes toward non-sentient beings, inspired by the unity and ethical standards the Council had adopted. The Galactic Council itself grew in stature and respect, becoming a true legislative and moral force in the galaxy. As the first anniversary of the new laws approached, a special session was convened to celebrate the achievements and to remember the journey that had brought them there. Jenkins, Vorasi, and other key figures spoke of their experiences, the challenges faced, and the future they hoped to build. In her office aboard the flagship, Admiral Stone looked out at the stars. The peace that now reigned was fragile, but it was real. She felt a profound connection to these stars, to the vast, beautiful cosmos that was now a little more united, a little more peaceful thanks to their efforts. The galaxy had indeed changed. From the tragic death of a single Earth dog had grown a new understanding, a new respect for life in all its forms. It was a new dawn, one that promised an era of cooperation and peace, guided by laws that protected the most vulnerable. This was the legacy of Earth's intervention, a legacy that would endure as a beacon of hope across the universe.